Join me as I try to keep up with Sydney McLaughlin and see if I can break my own personal record in the 400 meters hurdles. Sydney McLaughlin is truly a phenomenal athlete, folks, and I'm thrilled to be talking about her latest incredible achievement. As you may know, she's just broken the 400 meters hurdles world record again at the 2024 Olympic trials, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. It's one thing to dominate your event, but to do it consistently at the highest level is just remarkable. What's even more impressive is the fact that she's been able to do it time and time again, always pushing herself to new heights. I mean, we've seen her break records before, but this one feels particularly special. Maybe it's because it's at the Olympic trials, or maybe it's because she's just so dominant, but whatever the reason, it's clear that Sydney McLaughlin is on a mission. One thing's for sure, though, this record isn't going to be broken anytime soon. I mean, we're talking about a performance that's truly otherworldly. It's the kind of thing that makes you sit up and take notice, that makes you wonder just how she does it. And yet, despite all the accolades, Sydney remains humble and dedicated, always focused on the next challenge. Anyway, enough gushing about Sydney McLaughlin for now, let's dive into the challenges she faced leading up to the Olympic trials. Sydney McLaughlin has been open about the injuries she's faced in the past, and it's clear that she's had to overcome some serious obstacles to get to where she is today. I mean, we're talking about an athlete who's had to deal with everything from shin splints to hamstring strains, and yet she's still managed to come out on top. That's not to say it's been easy, of course. I'm sure there have been plenty of times when she's doubted herself, when she's wondered if all the hard work is worth it. But Sydney McLaughlin isn't one to give up easily, and that's what sets her apart from the rest. I mean, we've seen her push through pain, seen her grit her teeth and dig deep to find the strength she needs to keep going. And it's not just the physical stuff, either. She's also had to deal with the mental pressure of being one of the best in the world. That's a heavy burden to carry, but Sydney seems to wear it with ease. Of course, there's also the pressure of expectation, which can be just as crushing as any physical injury. I mean, when you're expected to win, when you're expected to break records, it can be tough to live up to those expectations. But Sydney seems to thrive under pressure, seems to use it as fuel to drive her forward. And let's not forget the competition, either. We're talking about some of the best athletes in the world, all vying for a spot on the podium. I mean, it's not like Sydney had it easy. Just because she's the best, she's had to work hard to stay ahead of the pack, to keep pushing herself to new heights. But despite all these challenges, despite all the obstacles in her way, Sydney McLaughlin remained focused, remained dedicated to her craft. And it paid off, big time. Her performance at the Olympic trials was truly breathtaking, a masterclass in speed, agility, and sheer determination. So what was it about Sydney's training regimen that allowed her to reach such incredible heights? Well, from what I've gathered, it's all about the details. She's meticulous about everything from her diet to her sleep schedule, making sure she's giving her body everything it needs to perform at its best. Of course, it's not just about the physical stuff, either. Mental preparation is just as crucial when you're competing at this level. I mean, you've got to be able to stay focused, stay calm under pressure, and Sydney's got that down to a T. She's always been able to stay in the zone, even when the stakes are high. But even with all her preparation, even with all her hard work, I think it's fair to say that Sydney's performance was still a surprise. I mean, who breaks a world record by such a huge margin? It's just incredible, and it speaks to her talent, her dedication, and her sheer athleticism. And let's not forget the significance of this performance, either. We're talking about a moment that will be remembered for years to come, a moment that will inspire countless other athletes to push themselves to new heights. When Sydney crossed the finish line, it was like time stood still. I mean, the crowd was on its feet, cheering, screaming, going wild. And Sydney, well, she just looked stunned, like she couldn't believe what she'd just done. It was a moment of pure joy, pure elation, and it was an absolute privilege to witness it. As the reality of what she'd achieved started to sink in, Sydney's reaction was just priceless. I mean, she was crying, she was laughing, she was screaming with joy. It was like she'd unleashed all this pent-up emotion, all this tension and stress, and it was just pouring out of her. The crowd, of course, was going wild. I mean, they were chanting her name, waving flags, just generally losing their minds. And Sydney, well, she was lapping it up, soaking up every moment of adoration. It was like she was on top of the world, and in that moment, she was. As the confirmation of the new world record came through, the stadium just erupted. I mean, it was like the roof was going to come off. Sydney was hugging her coaches, her teammates, just about anyone she could get her hands on. It was like she was on cloud nine, and who could blame her? So what does this performance mean for Sydney McLaughlin's career? Well, I think it's safe to say that it cements her status as one of the all-time greats. I mean, we're talking about an athlete who's consistently pushed herself to new heights, who's consistently broken records and rewritten the history books. Sydney McLaughlin's impact on the sport can't be overstated, either. I mean, she's inspiring a whole new generation of athletes to take up the 400 meters hurdles, to push themselves to be their best. And who knows, maybe one day we'll see another athlete break her record, but for now, she's the queen of the track, and she's not going anywhere. So to recap, Sydney McLaughlin broke the 400 meters hurdles world record again, and it was just an incredible moment to witness. She overcame injuries, competition, and pressure to deliver a performance that will be remembered for years to come. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you've got any thoughts on Sydney McLaughlin's incredible achievement, be sure to leave them in the comments below. And if you're new here, consider subscribing for more videos on Olympic athletes and record-breaking moments.